Let me tell you, nobody boards a plane expecting their whole life to tilt sideways in the space of a few hours, but sometimes that's exactly what happens. The flight attendants hadn't even finished the safety demo when the captain's voice came over the intercom, firm but carrying a strange undercurrent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I need to make an announcement that will delay our departure by a few minutes. Immediately, you could feel a wave of annoyance ripple through the cabin, people glancing at their watches. One woman clutching her handbag tight, as if that alone could get her to her granddaughter's graduation on time. But what came next nobody could have seen coming. The captain's voice sharpened. "There's a gentleman in seat 17C. Mr. Raymond Jefferson. Sir, would you please stand up?" Every head swiveled in near unison. Raymond, a tall, dignified black man in his 70s, rose slowly, his back still ramrod straight after decades out of uniform, Vietnam vet cap perched atop his head. His eyes scanned the rows, and you could see this wasn't a man who enjoyed the spotlight. He braced himself, like he'd done countless times before, for whatever was about to hit. The cabin fell silent as the captain continued, his words now heavy with emotion. 47 years ago, at Tan Son Nhut Air Base in Vietnam, you saved the life of a young Air Force lieutenant named Thomas Harrington during a mortar attack. That lieutenant was my father. For a moment, you could see Raymond's face break open, shock, disbelief, grief all tangled together. A flight attendant covered her mouth, tears already forming. The captain's words tumbled out. His father had tried to find Raymond for decades, never able to properly thank the man who'd saved him before both were shipped to different units. He died last year, still searching. When I saw your name on the manifest, I couldn't believe it, the captain admitted. I recognized it immediately from all the stories my father told. Raymond stood, trembling. All around, people reached for tissues, no longer strangers but witnesses to something rare, a debt finally being repaid. The captain finished. "Sir, I'm coming out there right now because there's something my father wanted to say to you for 47 years, and today I finally have the chance to say it on his behalf." You could have heard a pin drop. The cockpit door opened, and the captain, a tall man in his mid-40s, uniform impeccable, strode down the aisle. For a second, nobody breathed. He stood before Raymond, and the two men just looked at each other, generations bound together by a single act of courage. "You have his eyes," Raymond whispered, voice unsteady. The captain nodded, swallowing hard. "He told me you carried him over 100 yards under enemy fire with shrapnel in your own leg." Raymond just shook his head. "I did what anyone would do." But the captain's reply, "But nobody else did. Just you," hung in the air, a quiet benediction. He opened a small box, revealing a silver star medal. The story spilled out. After years of searching, a military review board had awarded the medal posthumously, believing the hero had died in the war. Now, the captain was placing it into Raymond's hands, alongside his own captain's wings. "My father wore these wings for 30 years. He wanted you to have them, too." Raymond wept openly, and with him, half the cabin. But, stories never stay simple for long. Up in seat 14B, Daniel Riaviza, sharp-eyed journalist in his 30s, always chasing stories nobody else wants to touch, was watching the scene, notebook open. Daniel had spent months digging into a suppressed incident at Tan Son, not how a black sergeant was denied a Silver Star after a rescue that should have gone down in history. And as he watched, realization dawned. This was his story, literally unfolding in front of him. Only, he had reason to believe the official version left out the worst parts to cover up. The questions of friendly fire, the buried grievances that still bled beneath America's surface. 3 hours earlier, Raymond had nearly missed his flight, shuffling through security, his joints aching from old wounds and even older memories. He just wanted to see his grandchildren in Sacramento one last time before the cancer did what war never could. The ticket agent barely looked up, just another old man passing through. But for Raymond, every journey had weighed a final chance to tell stories he'd held in for decades, a last shot at making peace with the past. On board, the cabin filled with little Dramesa, harried mother with a toddler, a retired principal worrying about missing her granddaughter's big day, a teenager lost in headphones, and Daniel, scribbling observations, always searching for that crack in the world where truth might seep through. Raymond watched them all, not out of nosiness, but because when you survive what he did, you learn to read a room, spot trouble, and quietly mark your exit. The captain and his first officer, Sarah, ran their checklist whether good, passenger count matching, all systems go. But the captain kept checking the manifest. Raymond Jefferson, seat 17C. The name rang in his ears. His father's stories always circled back to that one day a black sergeant risked everything to save a white lieutenant, only for that heroism to disappear in the haze of paperwork, politics, and prejudice. As the plane taxied for takeoff, Daniel's mind raced. The details from his Sauersea, dying ex-military clerk suggested Raymond had not only saved lives, but had been denied his due because he'd spoken out against discrimination. And now, by sheer accident or fate, all the pieces were here. The captain's legacy, the lost medal, the secret history. Daniel knew a story when he saw one, but even he couldn't predict how it would all unravel. After the emotional presentation, the mood in the cabin shifted. People who'd been studiously avoiding eye contact now whispered, shared tissues, confessed old wounds. Margaret, the retired principal, found herself drawn into conversation with Daniel. He showed her documents, declassified reports, redacted testimonies, all pointing to the possibility that the mortar strike wasn't enemy fire, but an inside job, covered up and left to fester. Margaret, wary but moved, agreed to help Daniel find the right way to approach Raymond. Not everyone was on board with the outpouring. Mid-flight, a passenger stormed up to Raymond, grumbling about special treatment, airing grievances nobody had asked to hear. The crew and other passengers shut him down quickly, but the moment was a reminder recognition for black veterans, even now, comes with baggage, with skepticism, with resistance. And then, as if on cue, things started going wrong. The plane hit turbulence, oxygen masks dropped without warning, and warning lights flickered in the cockpit. Hydraulic failures in two systems, something that should never happen. The captain took control, calmly requesting a priority landing in Seattle, even as the emotional weight of what had just happened in the cabin pressed down on him. Raymond felt the shift immediately. Years in the field had taught him when the official story didn't match the reality. He watched the captain move through the cabin, checking on passengers, offering comfort, steady even as the crisis escalated. As the city lights of Seattle drew closer, Daniel made one last attempt to reach Raymond, pressing a business card into his hand. "There's more to the story. Please call me." Raymond nodded, knowing some things can't stay buried forever. The landing was rough but safe, the plane escorted by emergency vehicles, the passengers breaking into applause as the wheels touched down. Relief, exhaustion, and unspoken questions filled the air. On the ground, in the bustle of the terminal, Raymond finally agreed to meet with Daniel and the captain, joined by Margaret, who offered her support as a neutral party. There, over coffee in a quiet airport restaurant, the truth finally surfaced. Daniel showed Raymond the documents, the friendly fire, the cover-up, the transfer to silence him, the medal that should have been his all along. The captain confessed the mix-up with the medal's inscription, his own longing for a story that would finally honor his father's debt. Raymond, holding the silver star, reflected on decades of being invisible, on all the friends who'd never gotten their due. "Recognition isn't just about medals," he said. "It's about being seen finally." The captain promised to help set the record straight. Daniel vowed to tell the whole story, and Margaret made sure everyone's voice would be heard. And as the rain finally let up outside, sunlight breaking through, Raymond made peace not with a tidy, heartwarming ending, but with the messy, necessary business of truth. Recognition had come late, tangled and imperfect, but it had come. And in sharing his story, he began to heal not just himself, but a piece of the country that had always struggled to do right by men like him. So, what do you think? Can a single act of courage ever truly be repaid? Is delayed justice better than none at all? Or are some truths too complicated for simple answers? Let's talk about it. Drop your thoughts in the comments about justice, about memory, about what it means to finally be seen. And if stories like this move you, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's always another story to tell, and your voice makes it matter.